Hey folks, Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Back and here today with a little bit of a somber video to really celebrate the life of one Jerry Butler Jr., born December 8th, 1939, actually just passed February 20th of 2025 at 85 years old. Really a genuine legend. An absolute ambassador for soul music, starting as early really as 1959. So I just thought I'd put together a video here to kind of give tribute to Jerry Butler. Obviously, if you've watched my channel before, I do talk about Jerry probably quite a bit. It was always kind of my dream to interview Jerry. That unfortunately will not happen. But we're here to celebrate Jerry Butler, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, politician, as a matter of fact. And I just thought we'd look at some of the records here and talk about Jerry. So obviously Jerry begins his music career born obviously in Sunflower, Mississippi. He ends up moving to Chicago with his family at 3 years old. Grows up, meets Curtis Mayfield, who him and two other gentlemen, Sam Gooden and also Fred Cash, come together and they form the Impressions. They then release For Your Precious Love, which immediately basically goes to top 9. I believe it was number 9 on the Billboard charts. And from there, Jerry ends up going solo. And basically even though he actually is a member of the Hall of Fame, as a member of the Impressions, the fact is he was really only with the Impressions for really that single album. The label owner of Vee-Jay thought, well, why don't we call the group Jerry Butler and the Impressions, which is just kind of a classic technique, because if the band ever breaks up, you can market Jerry Butler and also the Impressions. Well, the Impressions didn't like that. And unfortunately, they ended up kind of parting ways. Jerry would continue to work with Curtis Mayfield throughout the 60s, and obviously Curtis Mayfield would take the Impressions to incredible new heights throughout the decade. So Jerry would continue to have sporadic hits whilst on the Vee-Jay label. This is a compilation, more of the best of Jerry Butler. These are highly available. As a big Jerry Butler enthusiast, I can tell you can usually get these records for under 10, often under 5. I think I got this one for under 5. In 1965, he has a big hit with Betty Everett, a duet, based on a Everly Brothers song, that one being It Be Me, which of course is on this album. But like I say, all of these early Vee-Jay compilations are very available. Gives you a really good overview of him in that period. Certainly he was one of the first to record Moon River, which again ended up being more attributed to Andy Williams. But the Iceman, as he is also known, obviously kind of went back and forth with Vee-Jay. Not a ton of giant hits in that early period. And then he ended up breaking with Vee-Jay around 65, 66, as basically the label owner apparently had a bit of a gambling problem. And he moved on, which is really kind of where Jerry's career really kind of blossomed, and he kind of became sowed the seeds of his legendary status. And that one really has to come down to this album, The Iceman Cometh, from 1968. This album is always kind of seen as his high point, and I don't completely disagree, or I don't completely agree with that, because I feel like he still did, and I'll obviously be talking more about those later albums. But listening to this album again today, this is basically Gamble and Huff, obviously Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, before they ended up starting up the Philadelphia International label. This is some of their early work producing, and you know what? It's absolutely fantastic. The production style of Huff, Gamble and Huff would obviously rain money on them throughout the 1970s, but this is really kind of a sneak peek, really a fantastic album, probably one of Jerry's most consistent albums, And of course, this one would have Only the Strong Survive, which would go to number 4 on the Billboard charts. A monster hit for Jerry. And this, of course, would be like I say, one of his best, if not his best-selling albums from '68, The Iceman Cometh. Then, of course, we have, from the same session, Ice on Ice. Also re-listen to this one today. Again, the songs are all good. Again, the superior album is certainly The Iceman Cometh, but I will say this album, oh, so many great songs. And again, it's that Gamble and Huff production style that is just, it's sumptuous. Absolutely fantastic stuff, particularly for that later 60s, 68, 69 period. So you have Ice on Ice. And then, of course, kind of the lesser known in terms of those three. Basically, it was a triad of LPs that were produced by Gamble and Huff. This is the third one, You and Me. Obviously, fantastic picture of the Iceman himself in the middle. But this is a really good album as well. But again, they do decline in quality because basically all of these songs, for 3 albums, were taken from basically one set of sessions with Gamble and Huff. So another classic. This one you can probably get. Again, I've seen this for under $5. This one as well. This one sold a lot of copies, and yeah, like I say, you can get this one on the cheap. This one, however, I think I paid up for. This one's about $20. Hard to find this one, even though again it did sell quite a bit. So obviously, the secondary set of LPs are on the Brunswick label. But of course, Jerry would continue, and in my opinion, he would begin to put out some of his most creatively expansive work. Worth noting as well, obviously, that in the late 60s, Jerry, because of The Iceman Cometh, actually kind of broke through, ended up actually doing a lot of hosting for a PBS show, which was seen as the first African-American variety show, which of course was called Soul. I have actually seen it on Amazon Prime. It's in one of those funny sort of, you have to have a different subscription, but if you can get a free trial to that subscription, there's a full line of really fantastic documents of the period, basically showing black art and music and poetry and really the legends of the time. And Jerry Butler, of course, hosted some of those original sessions. Turning to 72, or rather 71, he would release 2 albums on the Brunswick label. This one, of course, Jerry Butler Sings Assorted Sounds with Friends and Family. An absolute classic album. Again, this album is very available for under $10. Really, what happens is Jerry basically opens up in his hometown of Chicago. He opens up a singer-songwriter workshop and basically says, come on in, has a bunch of friends writing songs for him. Here is him on the back. And you know what? This is a really good album. Special Memories on this one. How Do We Lose It? Really, really great album. That same year, of course, he would come out with the Sagittarius Movement. Obviously born December 8th, Jerry Butler. Well-known Sagittarius. But wow, another classic. This one obviously featuring one of his last really big charting hits. I believe it went to 24 or 21 on the Billboard charts. That, of course, would be Ain't Understanding Mellow with, of course, Brenda Lee Eager, who he actually did a lot of duet work throughout. And also, I should note, If It's Real What I Feel, another big hit with Brenda Lee Eager on this one. And again, this album also very available, under $10. I've seen many, many copies in many stores. Moving on to 72, Jerry releases The Spice of Life. And wow, fantastic double LP of really just amazing work by Jerry. Not at this point, he's writing a lot less songs himself. But again, a lot of the production on here is absolutely fantastic. A lot of strings. Really, he's really deep into that early 70s soul mode where I think Jerry absolutely excels. Some fantastic stuff for the Brunswick label. And not satisfied with a double LP in 1972, he does a soundtrack for blaxploitation film Melinda, which I should note is not a great watch. Perhaps a comedic watch, but not the greatest watch. But you know what? Jerry, again, strikes with, and you can see some of the pictures on the back. Really kind of an interesting film. But again, Jerry comes out with a lot of good instrumental work on here, but also, again, Speak Truth to the People. Another really kind of classic from Jerry Butler. You see he's up there in the corner. And then, of course, in 73, he would release, of course, Jerry Butler and Brenda Lee Eager, an entire duets album with Brenda Lee Eager, who, of course, did actually lead his backup group throughout that period. And, she's got a fantastic, sort of very gospel-hinged voice. There are times when Brenda Lee Eager feels like she's extending her voice a little bit too far. But you know what? That's part of her magic. It's kind of amazing because she can come out of things and it's a workout. It's a vocal workout. But again, really great singer. So he released this in 73. And then this as a second one in 73. In my opinion, one of his last truly classic albums, Jerry Butler, The Power of Love. Here's Jerry on the back. Basically releases it. Partly produced by Johnny Bristol, obviously of Hang On In There, Baby, but a massive producer in the early 70s, responsible for many, many hits. And like I say, Power of Love, really kind of one of his last really classic albums on the Brunswick label and in general. From there, of course, he would go on to sign with Motown. Unfortunately, again, victimized by Motown's really promotional sort of policies, which basically meant if you weren't a giant star, a Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, a Stevie Wonder, you just were not going to get the kind of promotion that would sell you very much in the way of records. But he did a few albums with them, and of course, and then we have, of course, this classic, Iced and Hot, from I believe it was from maybe about 82. He opened his own label, really kind of classic stuff. But really, this is just a tribute to a man who, in my opinion, absolutely one of the best 1960s soul stars, and I would say and 70s. Because again, in my opinion, his real peak is not, in fact, the Iceman Cometh, but in fact, The Spice of Life, which again is just sumptuous in terms of its overall funkiness, and at the same time, the production is very fantastic, very orchestral, all very beautiful stuff. Of course, Jerry is highly available on compilations. This is a particularly good one from 58 to 69. Jerry Butler, The Best Of. But again, these are also very available, and I certainly would encourage anyone to take a look into those. In the comments, I have pinned a playlist of what I consider to be Jerry's 20, kind of my favorite of Jerry's songs, 20 of them. So please feel free to take a look at that. If you're still here, like, subscribe. I do obviously talk about Jerry Butler now and again. I will continue to talk about Jerry Butler, who I feel is a deeply underrated gentleman in general. And like I say, an absolute legend. He basically would continue doing music, first with the Motown label. He would kind of stop in terms of releasing new material in the 80s when he basically became a Cook County commissioner in Chicago, a role that he would basically continue from the mid-80s until about 2018, as a matter of fact. So he was basically involved in politics the whole way. In the meantime, he continued to perform. He continued to do, around the early 2000s, there were a couple of PBS specials sort of talking about the R&B and really soul scene from that 70s and 60s period. He did a few of those. And unfortunately, in 2018, he did retire. And like I say, at that point, he would have been probably about 77 years old or 76. And certainly, from that point on, and I have not seen anything on YouTube or anything like that, he seems to have gone quiet, and I kind of wonder if it has something to do with, again, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I know that's not certainly how most people will pass. My grandfather had Parkinson's and lived a good, long, healthy life after he was diagnosed. But whatever the case, just wanted to pay tribute to in my opinion, one of the best soul singers. Jerry Butler, the Iceman, really a pride of Chicago, an absolute legend in the Chicago soul realm, but frankly in terms of soul music as well. I should also note that he did co-write I've Been Loving You Too Long to Stop Now with Otis Redding, and again, so many other real classic songs. But again, if you can even pick up a compilation like this, it is definitely worth it. Like I say, these albums are typically, and that may change as we know when stars pass. The prices of their material tend to go up. But I will say, I see Jerry records all day for under $10, and they are all really well produced. And again, Jerry is an absolute star. And rest in peace to Jerry today. On February 21st, he passed yesterday. Just wanted to give a tribute here to a legend, Jerry Butler, the Iceman. So again, thank you for tuning in. And one more thing, another thing that's very interesting. If you are interested in Jerry Butler, Only the Strong Survive: Memories of a Soul Survivor. This book is long out of print. I believe it was printed sometime around 1999. Interesting look. It's not as comprehensive as I would have liked. There's not a lot of talk of his 1960s work or his 1970s work. A lot of sort of, focus on his original beginnings, both with the impressions and then in that early period of his career. But again, a worthwhile book to look up. Only the Strong Survive. Jerry Butler with, of course, Earl Smith. So again, thank you for sticking around and helping me to pay tribute to Jerry Butler Jr. Again, an absolute legend in the game. The Iceman, passing just earlier this week at the age of 85.